Hello, and thank you for joining us on Weather Out West, the hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. Today is Monday, February 2nd. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti, and I hope everyone had a safe and happy weekend. We will get to our West Coast forecast shortly, but once again, the national weather story keeps our attention on the other side of the country, where life-threatening cold is hitting for a back-to-back week. We begin today with the more than 200 million people under cold weather alerts due to another massive winter storm dropping historic snowfall across the southeast and causing treacherous travel conditions in multiple states. This weekend, portions of Interstate 85 in North Carolina were shut down. More than 100 drivers were stranded amid several crashes. The National Guard was called in to help, and hours later, the highway finally reopened. Road conditions are expected to remain dangerous today because of how cold it is. This is video from Sunday of the streets in North Carolina. As you can see, they are still covered in a good layer of snow. Crews are working tirelessly there to make sure the highways are plowed before they move into the city and neighborhoods. Officials are continuing to ask anyone who does not need to travel to stay home.
We want to make sure that people are not on the roads. In eastern North Carolina, we don't have the equipment like other parts of the country that do see substantial amounts of snowfall on a regular basis. So, we want to make sure that people are off there. Our estimations are that if we get 8 to 12 inches of snow, it could take us 4 full days to be able to clear all of our municipal roads.
Snow totals in several states climbed well above 10 inches. This is a time-lapse video from Charlotte Sunday showing just how quickly that snow piled up. My goodness, it just keeps going. And this second winter storm is also having an impact on air travel. More than 1,000 flights were canceled Saturday at Charlotte Douglas International Airport, and more than 50 were delayed. As of Monday morning, flights are starting to bounce back, but FlightAware is reporting 43 delays and more than 170 cancellations at Charlotte Douglas. Many travelers are still feeling the impacts.
We have had 5 more flights canceled, and so now, yes, it's almost 8 o'clock and there's no getting out, and so they've rebooked me for the only flight tomorrow, which is at 9:45 p.m. And so I'm thinking of maybe just going back home to Wilmington.
Airport officials are encouraging passengers to check with their airline directly for flight status before going to the airport. As commercial flights stayed grounded, one helicopter was able to take off from Alabama and perform a rescue. An Alabama business owner used his skills as a pilot to help save a group of college students stranded in the winter weather in Oxford, Mississippi. Jillian Brooks shows us that rescue.
David Upton has always been a big fan of flying.
This is something that you can fly from point A to point B and land at farms and friends' places, and that's what's the beauty of the helicopter.
After Oxford, Mississippi was left without power following an ice storm, a friend asked for a favor.
With the airport being closed, all the kids were stranded in Oxford, and his daughter was there, and her 2 roommates, and they're in their rental house. A tree fell.
Now without power, temperatures dropping, and a hole in the roof, Upton made it his mission to bring those girls home.
Hitchhiked 2 rides to get to the airport because they were a 20-minute walk in 10-degree weather, so they were just happy to get there because the university would not allow us to land on campus.
And I'm sure, as you can imagine, they were thankful for the unconventional ride back to Alabama.
First thing they said was they wanted to go and get to heat and take a warm shower. They had been stranded, for 2 days there without power.
This isn't the first time Upton has used his helicopter to help people during an ice storm. He was active during Snowmageddon in 2014. While it's not the reason he usually hits the skies, Upton says helping people adds an additional layer of enjoyment.
Air travel is not the only form of transportation affected. The Allegheny River in Pittsburgh has been shut down to all traffic through March 1st. The U.S. Coast Guard made the announcement after several inches of ice accumulated in the wake of last weekend's snowstorm. This is video from U.S. Coast Guard's Facebook page of icebreakers on the Great Lakes last week smashing through ice to keep shipping lanes open. But in Pittsburgh, their rivers don't have any ice-breaking ships. So when waterways like this one freeze over, there is no getting through, at least until that ice starts to melt.
Currently, we have a safety zone in place for the Allegheny River, and the impact to it is relatively low as it is. Because the river is frozen, most of the industry already had pause operations. That's why we at the Coast Guard, in conjunction with the Waterways Association of Pittsburgh, we came to the same conclusion that the river is currently not navigable, and it's a safety issue for mariners in place.
Pittsburgh is the 5th busiest inland port in the nation, handling more than 15.5 million tons of cargo, and many businesses will be affected by this. On top of all the snow this second round dumped, the system also grew into a bomb cyclone, unleashing hurricane-force winds. A bomb cyclone occurs when a storm undergoes a significant drop in pressure in a short amount of time. So it gets really strong, really fast.
So there's one of those powerful wind gusts.
This is a passing coastal low that always brings us concern about beachfront erosion.
Georgia, Virginia, and both Carolinas went under states of emergency. And look at this, a home collapsed in Hatteras Island, North Carolina, from the strong wind gusts there. Once the storm passes, people will experience dangerously cold temperatures as they plunge below freezing.
Most people aren't going out just because we don't even have the, gear, the coats and the gloves and stuff to handle being outside when it's this cold.
It is so cold, crews were seen using blow torches to melt a frozen water fountain in Virginia Beach. And take a look at this. A driver in the Bronx found his van covered in ice after a leaky pipe turned into an icy waterfall. My goodness, what a mess. The cold snap is sweeping across much of the country, now impacting more than just millions of people. Animals are also feeling the impact. Iguanas will fall from trees when the temperatures get too low, which we do often see this time of the year. In South Florida, iguana expert Jessica Kilgro spent Sunday collecting the reptiles. She says iguanas are cold-blooded, so the frigid temperatures can harm them. They also are an invasive species, though. The iguanas will be turned over to the state's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Mission. Workers will either euthanize the reptiles or send them to licensed permit holders outside the state once the iguana's health is restored. You might think some animals like penguins would be right at home in the frigid weather, but as Carolyn Gusoff reports, it's actually too cold, even at New York's Long Island Aquarium.
They're dressed to the nines, just not 9 degrees. 20 penguins make the Long Island Aquarium home, and even these birds need a warm-up.
It can be too cold even for a penguin. There's a lot of penguins that never see ice in their lifetime.
These guys have about 70 feathers per square inch.
They're South African penguins, and when temps plunge below 30 degrees, it's more than cold feet. Their waterproof feathers aren't built for Arctic air. They're indoors, waiting for a warm-up. They're among the 5,000 creatures at the aquarium for whom temperature control is critical. A giant generator keeps it all running through storms.
Some of our habitats are 42 degrees, some of them are 84 degrees. We do have our life support systems here. They support life.
Some residents thrive in the chill. This river otter family frolics in frigid waters thanks to their thick fur. Harbor and gray seals bask in icy salt water, but other outdoor habitats need a little help.
Smile.
The sea otter steals the show, 400 pounds of blubber, but still a little radiant heat behind the scenes, warming things up between tricks and kisses.
A very sweet kiss.
And who is that keeping warm under a heat lamp?
Our owl is normally outside most of the time. We do spoil her also, and we have a radiant heater for her. And
carefully monitored by staff staying overnight through storms to ensure everyone is warm or cold enough.
Doesn't matter what the weather is, snowstorms, hurricanes, anything, staff is going to be here.
Now this part of the aquarium has to stay downright balmy. It's 80 degrees here for the 600 to 800 butterflies in this tropical habitat. From coral reefs to snowy shores, climate control is relative. These penguins will be back outside when the weather suits them.
As zookeepers are looking ahead for what's to come, so are humans. The DC National Guard is helping with the snow removal at public schools and surrounding neighborhoods. Sarah Robinson from our sister station in DC reports.
I am so excited today that my city has offered me the chance to come out and get some salt to help us further dig out.
DC residents expressing gratitude following a winter storm that brought heavy ice and made snow removal difficult.
Where else can you get this kind of support from your city for the services you need?
For many, the last few days have been a struggle.
It's been much. It's been a lot. I'm a homeowner on a couple of blocks over, and it took a few days to dig my way out.
DC Mayor Muriel Bowser announcing 5 pop-up locations offering free salt to help neighbors shovel their way out.
I have elderly neighbors, so we always help each other out, and that's why I have a big bucket so they can get salt as well as myself. So we all pitch in and helping each other out.
Residents also received help from the DC National Guard, assisting with snow removal in neighborhoods and near schools.
They got this National Guard out here, so that's really impressive.
Parks and Recreation Director Athene Freeman says she knows there was frustration in the community, but says the city is doing what it can.
This was a different event than we've seen in the past. And so where we can make adjustments, this is an example of an adjustment in serving where we can and how we can.
For residents here today, the help is welcome.
We're not going to find any salt or anything anywhere because I went out yesterday looking for some and couldn't find any, so this is a big help.
And we will continue to watch those frigid conditions on the other side of the country, but for now, let's turn things to the west. We first go to Corey Reppenhagen and Jaden Knowles in Denver, watching rain and some snow chances for Colorado.
Hey, it's meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen here with the 9 News Weather Impact Team in Denver, Colorado. And we had another warm day Sunday in Denver, and we are one step closer to getting the record for the most 60-degree days in a winter season. The record is 81. We're now, or 34 back in 81, we're now at 27. So we have more 60-degree days in the forecast. So we're going to come close to that, even though the end of February may be a little bit cooler than what we've seen so far this winter. In our weather pattern, we're watching that high pressure breakdown over Colorado, introducing a little window here where we could get some low pressure sneaking in, cooling us off on Tuesday and Wednesday, and that'll bring us just a little bit of snow before that high pressure rebuilds and those 60-degree days return. So the forecast in the mountains for that Tuesday system here, not looking too impressive, but 1 to 4 inches across the northern mountains. We'll certainly take that in a year like this. Here in the metro area, now we're zooming in here to the Denver metro on the Front Range. We'll get a little bit more cloud cover through the day on Monday as that next storm system rolls in, and then some lower clouds start to appear on Tuesday morning, and by the afternoon we're starting to see some scattered to isolated rain showers across the area, and by 6, 7 o'clock we start to get these isolated pockets of heavier snowfall. So a very spring-like regime here coming with this snowfall. Most of this will melt on contact, but we are expecting a few isolated impacts if this snow continues on into the overnight hours. Forecast here 0 to 2 inches. Like I said, most of this is going to melt on contact for most of us in relatively warm temperatures, but especially South Denver metro up in the foothills here, we could see some better impacts. That's why we have that orange weather impact potential alert coming. We're just watching the trending up, nothing to freak out about, but it looks like we might get some accumulating snow in the area on Tuesday, and then we're right back into the sunshine and 60-degree temperatures to end out the week and going into next weekend.
I'm Weather Impact Team meteorologist Jaden Knowles here in Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, it's Groundhog Day, and Flatiron Freddy came out and made his prediction. Unfortunately, he did not see his shadow, so he's forecasting 6 more weeks of spring, I should say, earlier spring. But let me tell you why this winter has just been so confusing. If you take a look at your screen there, here's why. We've officially tied the 2nd place record for the most 60-degree days in a winter, 27 so far, and we've got even more 60s in the forecast. But at the same time, winter isn't quite ready to let go. As we head into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, we're tracking a chance for snow. Not a lot of accumulation, maybe just a dusting, but enough that we could see slick roads during the morning commute. So here's my official prediction. Despite the warm days, I'm calling for at least 6 more weeks of winter as we try to catch up to our snowpack. So, of course, like I mentioned, Flat Iron Freddy finally came out. The Winter Olympics is here, so he came out curling and made his prediction. Unfortunately, it's cloudy out here. He did not see a shadow, but I don't think he's on the Weather Impact team. Overall, though, here in Boulder, Jada Knowles, 9 News.
And we know so many of our West Coast regions are hurting for that snowpack, so I think our scientists are also hoping for an extended winter, regardless of what the rodent says. After the break, we are going to the Northwest, where it's been a wet start to the month, but that is changing soon. Your forecasts from Washington are next. Welcome back to Weather Out West. It has been a rainy start to February so far in Washington, but as meteorologist Adam Claiborne shows us, conditions will be drying out quickly. Here's his forecast from Seattle.
Greetings everyone from Seattle, Washington. I'm King 5 meteorologist Adam Claiborne. Let's go ahead and just talk about that big game, the Super Bowl. That's going to be happening this weekend, and we have a good one. The Seahawks and the Patriots going up against each other. And we're expecting to see temperatures around the upper 60s, maybe even close to the 70-degree mark around kickoff. So plenty of sunshine there too. And then things should start to quiet back down as we head on into the evening. This is going to be the forecast for Santa Clara, where the 49ers stadium actually is. So it's going to be played down there in the Bay Area of California. Start time is going to be at 3:30. So again, we're going to try to see and keep the rain away, because what's going to be happening here over the next few days is this ridge of high pressure is going to build, and it's really going to stay a bit stronger down that way across California as opposed to what we're going to see across this way here into Seattle. First off, the rain coming through today, that's going to help to produce a few light showers and maybe even a few heavier pockets at times. But with these deeper oranges and reds, as you see them start to extend farther to the north, that ridge of high pressure is building. It is strengthening and is helping to create more of that sinking air, which will really kind of limit a lot of that cloud development, and it's going to divert a lot of the active weather off to the north into southeast Alaska, British Columbia. Now, eventually that all changes. This is going to be only for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yeah, more so heading into Friday as well. But you can start to see that trough where you have those greens and those blues and those purples beginning to eat away at that ridge, and that's going to help to push it off towards the east. Still fairly strong farther to the south, and so that's going to help to keep things again fairly dry as you go down into California. But it is going to bring back more of that active weather heading on into more the second half of the day on Saturday night, and into more of Sunday in the form of some more rain. That's going to be heading back into the region at that point. But you can see just how big that ridge of high pressure is, and how what goes up usually has to come down, and that all happens in weather when it comes to our jet stream. Big dip in the jet stream. We've been talking about the cold weather here across the eastern side of the country. Check this out right here. 54 for a high in Tampa today. 51. That's only a 3-degree difference from Seattle. 59, as a matter of fact, down here around Miami. So you can see the cool air still fairly and firmly entrenched across the eastern part of the country. Although it is beginning to modify, not as cold as what they had back on yesterday, it is still more so across that part of the U.S. as opposed to what we're seeing here across this part of the country, which again, we're going to warm up quite a bit after we get the clouds or the rain out of here in Seattle tomorrow. So highs will make their way back into the upper 50s, kind of around that 60-degree mark for the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which are looking to be kind of spring-like out there after the showers move out of here for today. And then we'll get more of that wet weather late Saturday evening into Saturday night, and then into the day on Sunday. Again, down into California, things are going to be dry for the Super Bowl. As far as what's going to be happening for Seattle, if you have any outdoor events or parties or whatever you're trying to do, make sure to prepare for the rain and the cooler weather that's going to be with us. Out this way towards our westward, it looks like cameras down right there, but here around Tacoma, got those areas of rain coming down as we speak throughout the morning hours. We're going to see a lot more of that rain kind of in place from time to time, but a lot of it dying off, and it should dry out as we head on into the afternoon. So only a sprinkle or two here around Everett. While here in Seattle, you can see definitely quite a bit of that rain in place as temperatures are holding on into more of the mid-40s. What's going to change, though, is that we're going to get the rain out of here. We'll get some slight warming, again, more so into the low 50s by the afternoon, but a lot less in terms of the steadiness of the shower activity is expected to be around. Farther south, though, we are expecting to see a bit more of that rain. South of Seattle, heading more so around Tacoma and areas across more of the southern parts of the state. But that moisture is heading its way on through, and it's going to be hitting more of the Cascades with a bit more of that snow for the mountains there. But up this way around the San Juans, and you can see kind of right below that, right beneath that, south of there, we're already beginning to see the dry air take over, and so that's going to really help out in drying things out here as we go later on into the day. And then we have the back edge of the system moving on through, and we got the dry weather to come as we head on into the next few days. Here's Futurecast. You can see the system moving quickly on out of here off towards the east. The snow still coming down at a decent clip, although snow levels will be rising eventually around 5,000, even 6,000 feet here by the evening. We're going to get a little snow for our mountains. Anything that we can get, we'll take, because we are definitely running deficits there. But completely drying out here by about 7 to 8 o'clock tonight, and we'll continue to see not only just the rain leave out of here, but also we'll start to see a bit more of those clearing skies, and the clouds will disappear too, giving us a little sunshine into the day on Tuesday. Rainfall amounts still yet to come. Higher amounts farther to the south, where we expect the deeper moisture and the more consistent moisture to be as we head later on into the day. So about 1/4 to 1/2 inch for many spots. Higher amounts possible farther to the south, and then between about maybe 2 to 5 inches of snow up here across more of the Cascades once it's all said and done. And then we get into this warmer stretch, and highs that we're going to see here for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be about 10 degrees above where they should normally be. Average highs at 49 degrees, so 58, even 60 degrees and 58, and it's going to be quite nice and spring-like. Cooling down a little bit, but still above average here even once we head on into the weekend. Forecasted highs, 49 in Orcas Island. We'll top off at about 50 degrees around Mount Vernon. We'll see a high of 51 in Marysville, 51 in Coopville, more low 50s around Seattle, as well as into Renton, Maple Valley at 50 degrees, Bremerton up to 51, low 50s around Tacoma and in Olympia and in Puyallup. Tonight's forecast will drop down into the low to mid 40s, so another cool night, but definitely not a cold night. And once we head on into the day tomorrow, we'll definitely be rewarded for some of the wet weather we've seen today, and we'll see more of that milder and spring-like weather all the way at least through more so Friday, then things turning a bit more into that winter pattern again over the weekend.
Thanks, Adam. And now to the other side of the state. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick is in eastern Washington with what the warm-up means for Spokane.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. Another mild day today, as it's been mild from this past weekend, and it looks like early February is going to hold true. Of course, it being Groundhog Day, a lot of talk about, are we getting 6 more weeks of winter? Is spring coming soon? Well, I can tell you what, even though Punxsutawney Phil did see a shadow, said 6 more weeks of winter, we kind of asked ourselves, like, the winter we've been seeing so far this winter, which has been very mild, very warm, and really not enough snow for the region. This week going to feature a lot of warm temperatures out there. We were curious if we were going to see our shadows anyways. A beautiful sunrise this Monday morning, but the cloud covers did prevent that sun really from reaching the ground straight away at sunrise. So it ended up being a cloudy morning here, and it will only get more cloudy this afternoon. Actually, quite a bit of moisture passing through Washington state. There will be a lot more on the west side than eastern Washington, but a little bit of light rain has found its way into central Washington, so Omak and Moses Lake getting the rain at first here. Looking to see if that'll arrive in Spokane. If it does, it would be around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, probably only lasting for a little bit. But the modeling has kind of shrunk the amount of moisture that will ultimately rain on us. So that we will monitor via Doppler radar. By 5 and 6 o'clock, that rain will be finished anyways through the inland northwest, getting out and exiting North Idaho pretty shortly thereafter. And that's our only chance of rain for the rest of the week. So really the biggest impact of that will be maybe just barely keeping the ground wet and our temperatures kind of hold in the mid 40s for a day. Without that rain and cloud cover, it would actually get a lot warmer. And that's the direction we'll be heading later in the week. 44 for the expected high temperature in Spokane today. That is 7 degrees above normal compared to the averages. Another important note is that when low temperatures are above freezing, it just does not feel all that cold outside, especially right at sunrise at that coldest point of the day. The rest of the week's even warmer than today. I have Wednesday and Thursday in the 50s here, almost 15 degrees above normal. Plenty of warmth for this week. Plenty of warmth heading our way next week as well. That long-term outlook, almost into mid-February, almost into Valentine's Day, features a lot of warmth really all throughout the West Coast, but our temperatures should easily be in the 40s and 50s around Spokane kind of for the next 10 to 14 days. Obviously, different story out east. And I think that's where the East Coast bias of the Groundhog comes from. Again, very cold in Pennsylvania this morning. Remember all that snow once again last weekend in the Carolinas. Funny to note, some cities in North Carolina got more snow than Spokane has had all winter long. James City, North Carolina, Newport, North Carolina, both more than Spokane, and this is the entire winter season. And even 14 inches feels like, wait, we've gotten that much? Most of it came in the snow squalls from last month, and then on occasion, we've kind of seen the airport get an inch, inch and a half, but downtown Spokane did not even get that much. I would say we probably have had even less than 12 inches on the season for our lower elevations.
Thank you, Thomas. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, to the desert we go with some of the warmest West Coast temperatures when we come back. The warm temperatures are here in Arizona. Let's now go to meteorologist Ginger Jeffries in Phoenix with the forecast on the winter heat.
All right, we have got gorgeous conditions going on across Arizona. Nice clear skies. Yes, that also led to temperatures that are well above the normal range, smashing our record yesterday. We were able to do it. The records for us, low 80s to upper 80s. We got up to 85 degrees, breaking our current record, the old record of 82. And this is going to be a theme that takes us through the work week as high pressure commands and temperatures stay on the warmer side. Now, what does that pave the way for? Gorgeous viewing of the full moon last night. Yep, Caitlin, one of our 12 News weather watchers, capturing the first full moon on the first day of February, called the snow moon. Meantime, we've got the polar opposite going on right here, right now. Temperature-wise, yeah, across the state, you can see this. We've got 80 today, once again in Phoenix, well above our normal range of 69 degrees, 81 in Havasu, 79 in Yuma. Still seeing some mild weather, even though it's well above the normal range in Flagstaff. 57 today. I've got 78 in Tucson and 71 in Globe. Let's look ahead because, of course, we've got that tournament coming to town this week. All the Pro-Am play gets underway. Temperatures will be on the warmer side. I mean, look at this, mid-80s by midweek. And we're going to stay with this 80 theme all week long. There is a hint of rain coming in. I think it's going to stay in the higher elevations and especially on the east side of the state. So it looks like tournament play is going to be really nice, but then some of that may be impacting us. Again, it's still over a week away. This is something I've been tracking, but it does show that our long-range forecast does have a change developing. So temperatures will be coming down and rain will be coming in. But again, that is a long-range forecast model. As you can see, we will begin to get some clouds here and there, just mid-level clouds. And some of these clouds are going to be able to produce some moisture, primarily, again, through the rim and White Mountains. And this isn't until Friday, Saturday-ish, but I really just don't think it's going to have much impact at all on the tournament. I mean, look at this. Rain chances right now in Phoenix stand at 0, so that is good news. Now, the only negative is anytime we have even some moisture passing on through, typically areas that stay dry with the help of a little bit of wind. So in my book, that's the worst thing to do for a tournament is kick up the wind. That's what I'll be watching. Rain, not so much, but potential windy conditions. That means those players are going to be driving the ball low. Meantime, we're on the high side today. Its numbers are in the upper 70s and low 80s. It is going to be bright. It is going to be sunny. The winds are going to be calm for now. But again, I think that's going to be our main weather story. So what's the record? 82. Obviously within grasp. I don't think we're going to do it because I think think we're only going to, dab our toes in the 80-degree zone. But look at this. Numbers this time of the year typically in the upper 60s. Today, higher elevations will continue to see some winds up to about 15 miles an hour. Not as gusty as what we saw last week. And then that wind is going to keep our overnights clear and mild. The skies are just going to be prime. So check this out. 7-day forecast coming your way, Flagstaff. I've got you in the 50s all week long. It looks like you're starting the week off on the warmer side, mellowing out a smidge. And again, that rain should be staying in the White Mountains along the rim. For the valley, 80s are popular. None of these temperatures look like record numbers, but we're certainly playing above normal.
What a stark contrast compared to what the East and the South are feeling right now. After the break, we will wrap things up in the Northwest with conditions in Oregon and Idaho this week. To Oregon now. Meteorologist Rod Hill is watching the final bit of rain there before the dry weather settles in. He has the forecast from Portland.
From the Rose City, all cloudy, meaning on this Groundhog Monday, nobody's seeing their shadow, and by legend, locally, that means the groundhog is not frightened, stays outside, and winter is expected to end early, which is what we do not want, because what we need is a number of cold systems dumping heavy snow in the Cascades this month of February and also into March. There are signs that not this week, but next week, the following week, next week, if you will. We will get some colder weather patterns coming in, and we could have at least a handful of decent snowmakers up in the Cascades. Mainly dry up there on this Monday. This is our Timberline camera, maybe a mixed bag of some traceable amounts of moisture. That's it. You look at clouds over the summit. And here are the current bases. Timberline 36, Meadows 36. Ski Bowl, which is the lower elevation of the three on Mount Hood, had to cancel operations for skiing and boarding over the weekend because what was more than 2 feet on the ground is now less than a foot, and that's just not enough to ski or board. They continue to operate their tube hills. So that's still a big story, the lack of our snow in the Cascades. Mount Hood site specific, the snowpack, by the way, 29% of normal for this time of the year. It seems like, honestly, it would be lower than that. Here's what we've been looking at rain-wise. It's been down to the Columbia River in Portland. Some misty spots at times in the city, but generally this is rain north of downtown Portland all the way up to Seattle. And it is a rain area that's going to be slowly edging northward during the day. And we're going to see thinning to increasing sunshine from Eugene up into Albany and Salem. And these areas with increasing sun could be close to 60 this afternoon. Our forecast for 60 in Portland back on Saturday came true as PDX hit 61 degrees. Now, once this rainmaker lifts out of here, later today, we go basically all dry in the coming days, and minus fog in the mornings. We would be just sunny tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday. Weather models show about 1/4 inch of rain falling today up in Astoria and 1700s inland in the Kelso Longview area. Some live cameras for you. Been raining in Seaside. You can see the low cloud deck there and some water droplets on the lens crossing the Columbia River from the Vancouver, the Springs at the waterfront camera, but you quickly go mainly dry into Portland. There's a view of the clouds, however, on this Groundhog Monday from downtown Portland and the Wells Fargo building. Been dry in our state capital. This is the area that's expected to see thinning cloud cover with temperatures approaching 60 later today. This shows 59 at 3 p.m., 60 down in Eugene. Dry in Newport, the rain up along our north coast. Chance of some light showers toying with the gorge where it's actually been foggy this morning. And then you get all dry weather and generally up into the 50s and 40s out across eastern Oregon. All right, our 7-day forecast. 55 out there this afternoon. Clouds thinning later today, especially south of Portland. Tomorrow, all sunny. Now, there could be some fog in the morning because winds are still expected to be light. 59, maybe 60. East winds start to develop out of the Columbia River Gorge tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. So that would mean fog-free conditions for Portland, sunny days. Lows in the 30s tonight, 50s during the day, and there probably will be some frosty areas in the valley scattered Wednesday and Thursday mornings. I still have us dry on Friday, and right now rain this upcoming weekend.
Thank you, Rod. It is a similar trajectory in Idaho. Tyson White is watching the stagnant conditions from Boise as we start the new week and month.
Well, hi there, I'm Tyson White here in Boise, Idaho, and we're taking a look at what we're expecting here for the Magic Valley for today, because we are not seeing a whole lot of impacts in our weather other than some haze and some mild temperatures across valley locations. Daytime highs for today here in the Magic Valley, looking at the low 50s, upper 40s, maybe a passing cloud or two, maybe some light haze, as we do have an air stagnation advisory that is in effect. We'll get to that in a moment, but we are expecting that to kind of linger through the next few days. Same thing for the central mountain areas here too. 45 for Sun Valley today, up to 38 there in Stanley. They'll be kind of the cool spot for the mountain locations out there here in the central mountains, that is. Plenty of sunshine though, maybe a passing cloud or two, but nothing really obstructing that sun, which is great news out there. It'll be deceiving though, because it is a bit chillier in some of those mountain areas, especially here along the Long Valley. This is an area that we could be seeing some heavier fog, maybe patchy fog in the mornings. The next few mornings out here, we saw a little bit of that this morning in McCall. 54 going to be the warm spot there for Riggins today. 47 there in Council again as well. Here for the western edge of the Treasure Valley, a little bit cooler temperatures there in Ontario and Weiser, as we're seeing kind of the effects of this inversion kind of capping over the valley areas out there. Caldwell, Nampa, and the Emmett areas all looking at the low 50s for daytime highs today. Same thing goes for the Boise area today too. We'll be capping in some of these temperatures here right about this level all week long. We'll also be seeing that hazy skies. We've been seeing that throughout the morning hours today as well. Both this upper and lower Treasure Valleys could be seeing that patchy fog returning once again tomorrow. Our storm chances this week are basically none through Monday, through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even into Saturday as well. But by Sunday, a system starts making itself known that could be bringing us some valley rain showers, mountain snow showers out there. We'll have to keep an eye on that, as models are still working to kind of come to agreement on what we're expecting out of that. So tune in Tuesday or Thursday to see what we're expecting out of that as we get a little closer to the weekend here. Northwest Satellite Radar showing the Pacific Northwest seeing some showers there. Seattle, Portland seeing some scattered showers. Mountain snow showers there too through the Cascades and the Blues. That's going to be making for travel a little bit dangerous in some of those areas out there too. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're traveling to Seattle, Portland, and even into Spokane. The only effects that's going to have here for southern Idaho is some high, thin clouds over the state. Those are going to slowly move their way out. We'll still continue to see that sunshine through the day as well. Speaking of sunshine, Smith's Ferry here along Highway 55 looking quite nice. Roads looking nice too if you're planning to head up to the McCall Winter Carnival this week. Things are looking pretty good for that as well. Plenty cold, so those ice sculptures will stay in place out there. May Marina looking quite nice. Beautiful sunrise here over Payette Lake this morning. Nice and snowy. So again, that McCall Winter Carnival looking decent out there. Just not a lot of snow for those guys. Here across the Boise area, we've been seeing those hazy skies across the skyline here. Kind of a gloomy winter morning out there, but that sun, it's going to warm up into the low 50s again this morning, so that's something to keep an eye on. That air stagnation advisory is in effect until February 6th at 11 o'clock that morning. We're just seeing the kind of that high pressure system that's been capping over the valley, bringing us those kind of cooler temperatures, mirroring some of that mountain temperature swing out there as well. 7-day forecast showing that copy and paste. We'll see the conditions we saw today. We'll see that again tomorrow through Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday, even Saturday, before we see a little bit of a rise in temperature on Sunday before that system moves in, bringing us a kind of a chance of some breaking that inversion and some showers as well. Really a Groundhog Day forecast all week long, kind of same thing, different day out there across southwest Idaho.
Thank you, Tyson. Up next, your forecast from the Golden State. Stay with us. Welcome back. It is fairly mild in Northern California. Meteorologist Rob Carlmark is in Sacramento with the forecast there. Rob?
Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Carlmark here with the weather for the West Coast. Now, we've had some very quiet weather lately, but there still are things to talk about. First of all, big, huge areas of low pressure, lots of swell coming to the coast. Also timed out with very high tides. We have a king tide situation, but other than that, there's really not much going on for the coast. For the valley spots, we've got early morning fog, then some sun for the foothills. It's been really warm. It's actually really nice. And then for the Sierra, what we want is snow. It is January switching over to early February, and we've just not really seen the snow lately. There's been a lot of early season snow, which is good, but that's not really going to hold us off for the rest of the season. We really need to get back in the game, because now, even though the numbers look pretty good as far as rain in the bucket, what we're not seeing is continued refilling of that situation. So we're starting to slip behind for places like Eureka, which is one of the wettest spots in California, now about an inch behind average. Also, Sacramento is a little bit below average. San Francisco, Stockton, Modesto, some of these spots still above average. It would take another week or two of zero rain to start to slip below average. But what we're going to see is about 7 to 8 days of quiet weather before things start to switch back on. Now, because of the early season rain, we've had a lot of wet ground and then high pressure right on top of us. So you get this weird situation where it's been quiet and it's been warm, except for the Central Valley, where we've been getting a lot of low clouds and fog just lingering around. Now, where we're going in the future is this is starting to erode pretty quickly early in the day, so it's going to be fog in the morning and then really nice warm weather. So it's a quiet situation, but this is all going to change as the pattern flips going into next week. So we've had some clouds move through. It was an amazing weekend, to be honest with you, weather-wise. But in the background, if we don't get rain and snow in January or February or March, you just pretty much can set the stage that we are going to slip into some level of low-level drought going into the future. So this is going to maintain itself for a while. We've got a nice big area of low pressure off the coast, and it's going to start to change the pattern once we get past this upcoming weekend. For the snowpack, you might have seen the snow survey, which came out on Friday, below average for this location here in the Central Sierra. There's two numbers worth looking at. Number one is where we are for the average to date. That's basically where we are for this time in February. And then the April number is a very big deal because that's where we should be by the end of our rainy season. We pretty much start to see everything shut off right around April, and we don't get any sizable systems that are going to change the math. Going forward here, what we have going into next week is that it's still looking kind of warm, but this is what we want to see. The pattern switching over to a wetter situation, which is when we finally start to see storms roll on in. So this week, pretty simple. It's going to be dry. It's going to be warm. It's going to be nice. But what we're not seeing is storms. Next week, everything changes with finally some storms starting to move in. They're not big, but they're going to change the math very quickly as we're going to get at least some light rain and light snow coming into the system once we get past Super Bowl Sunday, which is in Santa Clara on Sunday. The 7-day forecast, pretty simple. It's going to be dry. Once we go 10 days, it's going to be wet going into next week.
Let's take a trip down I-5, shall we? Southern California is not immune to the warm-up that so many members of our team have mentioned in their local regions. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz is in San Diego tracking the sunshine there this week.
Happy Monday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Well, if you haven't heard by now, the heat continues to repeat here in Southern California. It has done so over the past few days as we enjoyed our weekend. We talked about temperatures soaring above average and also breaking some daily max records. In fact, here's what we hit for yesterday's highs as we kicked off the month of February. We easily beat Oceanside old record of 80 degrees with a high of 83 yesterday. Vista beat out their old record of 82 with a high close to 90 degrees yesterday at 86. And Escondido, take a look at that. About an 8-degree spread in temperatures in comparison to their old daily max record set back in 2020 with a high of 92 yesterday. Thankfully, we are going to feel some relief. Temperatures are slowly starting to cool down as we kick off a new work week, but we are looking towards another warming pattern, all due to another round of Santa Anas towards the middle of the week, and I'll explain those details in a moment. I do want to take a look at the watches, warnings, and advisories. We'll exchange the heat for some high surf in the coming days. So this will take effect all the way through early Tuesday. We have a coastal flood and a high surf advisory impacting our entire coastline. I mean, you could see just how great it stretches from Orange County, parts of LA, moving south towards southern San Diego. We're expecting 3 to 6 foot waves along with some high tides. Some high tides and isolated sets, especially for those western-facing beaches, could get up to 8 feet at times. So yeah, for those visiting San Diego, not the time to learn how to surf, and those who are inexperienced with swimming, especially in the ocean waters, should certainly steer clear and check in with the lifeguard. We are also looking at the threat for some minor coastal flooding as well, so that's why we have that coastal flood advisory impacting our beaches, especially along the boardwalks. Today's highs looks like this. So we talked about 80s, even some 90s for the inland and coastal areas. Yesterday, we'll finally feel some relief, improvement with cooler conditions and increase in clouds. Low 70s this afternoon along the coastal spots, close to 80 degrees for the inland valleys. The deserts will be touching highs in the low 80s and will be in the high 60s for our mountain communities. So we'll have 2 rounds of easterly winds. We'll have the first round anywhere between 20 to 25 mile per hour gusts, and this is going to warm up our temperatures. So the inland valleys especially will start to feel that warming tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, you can see that those winds out of the east continue to strengthen. And as of right now, National Weather Service has no wind advisory, but that could change the closer we get to Wednesday. Here's what the 5-day forecast across the inland valleys looks like. And as we take a look at the next 7 days, again, notice that climb quite high. The heat peaks on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we'll see that drop in temperatures as we wrap up the week, with 70s making a return inland, and then for the coastal areas, we'll eventually hit back into the 60s by the time we get to Saturday. The mountains look really nice as well. Lots of sunshine to go around. Overnight lows, though, take a pretty big drop Thursday and Friday into the mid-30s. For the desert areas, we'll be in the low 80s all the way through about Friday, and then looking ahead to the weekend, we're cooling down by a few degrees. Not too much fluctuation when it comes to our mountains and desert areas, but we do have relief looking ahead to the first full weekend of February.
Thank you, Vanessa. Well, it is Groundhog Day. You've heard a lot of our team mention that. Punxsutawney Phil has made his annual weather prediction. So if you didn't trust our scientists the last hour, let's talk about a rodent. Up next after the break, we will show you the reaction from Gobbler's Knob. Finally, on this Monday, across time, cultures, and species, before satellites, newscasts, and apps, animals awaking from hibernation have been indications of what the weather is doing. In Europe, a sacred bear or badger was sought out for guidance, but Germans settling in Pennsylvania in the 18th and 19th centuries looked to a different animal, the humble groundhog. The first official Groundhog Day was in 1887 when the people of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania made their first trek to Gobbler's Knob, marking the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. Now, every February 2nd, this small town welcomes thousands of visitors to see the world's most famous animal forecaster, Punxsutawney Phil. If Phil comes out of his hole and sees his shadow, he regards it as an omen of more bad weather ahead and goes back into his burrow for 6 more weeks of winter sleep. But if Phil emerges on a cloudy day, he takes it as a sign of spring and stays above ground.
There is a shadow here on my ground. 6 more weeks of winter abound.
Okay, 6 more weeks of winter. That is the word from Punxsutawney Phil this morning. His handlers report he saw his shadow after he was pulled from his tree stump. Tens of thousands of people were in Gobbler's Knob for the prediction. Phil most commonly reports 6 more weeks of winter, but experts say he's only right 40% of the time. Can you blame him? He is a rodent. But hey, let's talk about the science. I want to show you from the Climate Prediction Center, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center, what the month of February is anticipated when we look at the science, not a rodent. So of course, we've been following the cold snap on the East Coast and down to the south. Unfortunately, February does not look like it will bring much relief. You see those blue colors along the East Coast indicating cooler temperatures sticking around, whereas the West Coast, we're looking at above average temperatures. This was just released on January 31st, and this is for the month of February. Precipitation, it looks like we'll see dry conditions along the West Coast, mostly along California, but we could see above average precipitation up in the Northwest for places like Washington and then all the way into the Dakotas. So we will keep an eye on that, of course. Hopefully everyone is looking to scientists and not the rodents for their forecast. That does it for us here on Weather Out West on this Monday, February 2nd. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. Thanks so much for being with us for the last hour. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.